Reggae legend Eeka Mouse just dropped bombs on the Marley family. The truth behind their feud will shock you. Why does he claim they sabotaged his career? Stick to the end. This is the story the Marleys don't want you to hear. Ripton Hilton, the man the world knows as Eeka Mouse, never begged for a crown, yet walked into reggae history with a voice so odd it became divine. Towering at 6 feet 6 inches, draped in eccentricity, he wasn't merely a performer. He was an anomaly. His sing-jay style defied categorization, threading melodic croons with sharp, rhythmic toasting, bending reggae's rules like wire in his long fingers. Hits Wa Da Dem didn't just echo from sound systems. It pierced the walls of convention and crossed oceans. But under the comic charm and Mouse's stage antics lived a man with bruises no herb could heal and a bitterness he could never fully mask. That bitterness would eventually curl into a seething public resentment toward a family that carried the name Marley, a name Hilton believes became both a gate and a gatekeeper in reggae's global cathedral. His accusations weren't whispered, they were screamed. He wasn't just another struggling artist. He had once tasted the glory, danced on the world's biggest stages, and rubbed shoulders with royalty and rebels alike. But after years of legal troubles, personal setbacks, and financial freefall in the United States, Ripton Hilton returned to Jamaica in 2014 with nothing but the ashes of legacy he felt had been scorched. Scorched, he insisted, by the Marley dynasty. He wasn't shy about calling out names. Ziggy Marley, Stephen Marley, Damian Marley. In his eyes, these were not just the sons of Bob Marley. They were the emperors of a closed kingdom, hoarding the spotlight while the rest of the reggae nation withered in obscurity. The fracture, according to Eeka Mouse, began nearly a decade earlier on the acclaimed 2005 album, Welcome to Jamrock. Hilton featured on Khaki Suit alongside Bounty K, a track that was part of Damian Marley's Grammy-winning masterpiece. At the time, Hilton accepted a payment of $4,000 with the understanding that if the track soared, so too would his cut. But the song didn't rise like others on the album. No road design, no beautiful, no title track anthem. And when Hilton pressed for more money, he said he was met with silence, indifference, and eventually exclusion. What followed, in his words, was a systematic erasure. Bookings dried up. Promoters went cold. He alleged Ziggy Marley warned festival organizers in Brazil not to book him, while Stephen Marley reportedly phoned him with threats. The Mouse didn't retreat. He attacked. He dropped diss tracks with razor edges. Marley Boys banned me from reggae. In 2015 wasn't subtle, it was a bullet. Interviews followed. Social media rants. Rants that accused the Marleys of building a reggae empire with walls high enough to block out the very voices that nurtured the genre from birth. He brought up Dennis Brown, Bob Marley's favorite singer. Ziggy Marley, he claimed, had reduced Brown to a crackhead, refusing to work with him even as reggae owed Brown a debt that could never be repaid. To Hilton, it wasn't just about his own betrayal. It was about the betrayal of an entire generation. He said it plain. While the Marley name had become synonymous with international reggae festivals, mainstream media attention, and Grammy nods, artists like him, veterans, creators, misfits, revolutionaries, were being buried beneath the Marley shadow. It wasn't jealousy, he argued. It was justice. Why should only one bloodline dominate the global stage while others scrape for scraps? Why should the voice of Jamaica be funneled through one family tree? He even pointed fingers at Rita Marley, accusing her of muscling Bunny Wailer out of the Tough Gong label, twisting the truth of Bunny's departure to create a narrative of Marley-centric purity. The Marley name, Hilton insisted, had become a monopoly. It didn't end there. When Kabaka Pyramid took home a Grammy, Hilton didn't celebrate. He accused, said the win wasn't about artistry, but Marley backing, suggesting that Kabaka's victory was engineered by the very machine that had denied him. He recorded another song. Is it because I'm not a Marley? It wasn't a question. It was a demand. The message was consistent. Being born outside the Marley bloodline had become, in his view, a curse in reggae's new world order. Fans split. Some cheered him on, calling him brave, finally saying aloud what so many had whispered. That reggae had become too Marley, too corporate, too safe. Others rolled their eyes, dismissing him as a bitter relic shouting at a closed door. But whether they loved him or hated him, they listened. Because Ripton Hilton's rage wasn't random, It was rooted in real pain, real history, and a real shift in how reggae was being curated, packaged, and exported. His voice, once whimsical and strange, now trembled with fury, and even his laughter had a growl underneath. The Marleys, for their part, said nothing. They stayed silent, perhaps to avoid fanning the flames, or perhaps because they believed silence would be the loudest answer. Their foundation work, their tours, their collaborations, they let those speak for them. They never responded to Hilton's interviews or posts, never publicly addressed the diss tracks, never acknowledged the avalanche of accusations. But the silence only made Hilton louder. He reminded audiences that Bob Marley wasn't a king who crowned himself. He had struggled, rebelled, united factions. He played for the poor, sang for the silenced. Hilton argued that Bob would never have hoarded the stage, that he would have lifted up the likes of Eeka-Mouse, not locked them out. He warned that the Marley legacy was in danger of becoming the very thing it once fought against, a gatekeeper. Over the years, the attacks became almost ritual. Hilton would surface with another jab, another live video, another show where he ranted about a betrayal. He brought up his 5 children, his losses in America, his attempts to return home and find footing, only to be met with closed doors. He claimed that reggae had turned its back not just on him, but on all who weren't born with the golden surname. It was no longer about music, he said. It was about survival, about being seen, being heard. But reggae, for all its roots and revolution, is also a business. And the Marley name is a global brand. For every criticism hurled, there's a festival sold out in their name, a chart-topping release, a charitable venture. Ziggy, Steven, and Damien have all carried Bob's torch in different ways, experimenting, fusing genres, elevating reggae to a new audience. While some accuse them of hoarding the spotlight, others hail them as protectors of the flame. The truth, perhaps, lies somewhere in between Hilton's rage and the Marley silence. In the end, Ripton Hilton's war with the Marley Empire reveals something deeper than industry politics. It exposes the fragile ego of an artist aging in a genre that's evolving without him. It shows the toll of being celebrated one moment and erased the next. It captures the desperation of a man who once made the world laugh and dance, but now fights to remind that world he still exists. Whether he is a prophet or a provocateur depends on who you ask, but there's no denying the impact. His words have sparked discussions that reggae couldn't ignore, about fairness, access, legacy, nepotism, voice. Whether out of hurt or honesty, Hilton held up a mirror, and in that reflection, reggae had to ask itself hard questions. Is it still a movement of the people, or has it become a monarchy? Ripton Hilton continues. Still tall, still strange, still loud, still the mouse. He may never get the apology he demands, or the stage he once commanded, but in his defiance, in his refusal to be quiet, he has carved another kind of legacy. One not built on silence, but on shouts. One not passed down through blood, but forged in fire. And in that noise, perhaps there's a different kind of music. One that doesn't ask to be played, but dares to be heard. Is Eeka-Mouse a bitter man silenced by time, or the only one bold enough to call out a dynasty? Is reggae still a voice for the people, or has it become royalty with a lock gate? Share your truth in the comment section. And if you want more stories the mainstream won't touch, hit that subscribe button before the next one drops.